Well, let's begin tonight by I'm going to talk some, of course, like I always do, but let's really start with dropping in a little bit right here at the beginning before we launch into listening to words and thoughts and concepts. We just spend a moment feeling ourself. So, that very first step of surrendered presence, where we simply notice what we are experiencing now. And whatever it is you notice, a sound, a feeling in your body, an aroma, a thought. As it arises, simply name it to yourself silently. And adding just a little practice on here. As you notice an experience and name it to yourself, follow that with simply saying to yourself, and I am here now. And I am here now. I'm going to invite us to try to remain connected with that here-ness, that sense of now, as we listen to words. And in always thinking and experiencing and feeling all that I am going through now, listening to what others are going through, and some of the big shared experiences of the world right now. Something that came across my through my email was something from Richard Rohr talking about the four levels or containers of meaning. And those levels are my story, our story, other stories, and the story. And so, just talking about each of those levels a little bit, my story. So, this is the level of me. And it's not just what happens to me, it's my take on everything. It's my perspective. It's seeing all the stories that are happening at any given moment through my own story. And post modernity, that's the time that we're living in right now, has made this level more important um, than it's ever been in the history of being human. And we have become more and more and more individualized as humans. And there's a lot of positives with that. And there's some things that we lose. Um, Currently, the way that we tend to think is we put ourself at the center of everything. And it actually wasn't always that way. It was to a degree, but not to the degree that it is now. We used to be grounded in much more of a shared story, the second level of meaning, which is our story. And of course, that our was specific to our culture, our society. but they were also very grounding societies and institutions in which we shared a story. So it's things like religions, organizations with shared ideals to which we belonged, or the deep cultures, like the deep cultures of indigenous groups, um, or very long cultural values within an ethnicity or society. And it was a glue, or it is a glue that holds people together. So it's our story, that level of our story, that gives us our myths, our heroes, our shared literature, music, food, things that connect us to a larger story. And this idea of our story is becoming rarer these days, and it's a part of a major breakdown in society as we no longer join. We don't join societies and clubs. Religious organizations have been slowly losing membership over many, many years. And we do not have places of shared purpose across groups, across cultures, and across political opinions. We also don't have it across age groups. We tend to start going in directions within families, we do, but unless we're part of a church or a larger organization, we tend to start hanging out with people our age. So we lack for a shared vision or purpose within a community. We may share a vision or purpose, but we have a hard time acting it out and sharing it heart-wise with one another. So we end up talking a lot about shared visions and purpose. So the third level is other other stories. So one reason in our postmodern age that we've left behind our story is because we've been exposed to more and more other stories. And this is a good thing, of course. We have all been incredibly blessed to be exposed to many cultures, other food, other beliefs. Many people here travel a lot for this very reason. We get exposed to others' rituals and celebrations. Um, but the downside to that can be that it dilutes our own, some connection to our own story, our own shared story, meaning that we recognize that's not our story. We don't connect to it in the way that we do when it's our shared story. So, on the flip side, while some of us are broadening our wisdom by being exposed to other stories, others, other people, so some of us are broadening our wisdom, but some of us, and I would argue most of us, are broadening our fear. So many of us here might highly respect, say, indigenous cultures, and maybe even highly revere some things like that. But then we, at the same time, may revile and even call evil the culture and beliefs of our political opponents. So I want to quote Richard Rohr here, where he says, "There is only one thing more dangerous than the individual ego or my story, and that's the group ego that insists that our story is the measure of all things and so seeks to label other stories as ignorant, dangerous, or inferior." And as I read that, who did you think Richard Rohr was talking about? What group whose group ego did he mean? Who are these people who insist that their story is the measure of all things and so seeks to label other stories as ignorant, dangerous, or inferior? So, a little aside here. Most of you know that my spirituality is rooted in Christianity. It's where I started, where I was brought up. And I truly feel that I have brought the best of it. And there is a lot of good in Christianity. I have brought the best of it with me. And there is a group of people identified, well, it was all men, a group identified in the Christian scriptures who have always repulsed me, and repulsed me to the degree that there is no doubt that it is actually a Jungian shadow for me. In other words, at the heart of myself, it is actually a deep wound in me, something that I've been trying and working very hard to outgrow. And the group of people that I'm talking about in the scriptures is the Pharisees. And in the scripture, Pharisees are the ones who know what's right, they do what is right, and they tell everyone else what to do, what is right, and they tell everyone else when they're doing it wrong. And the reason they repulsed me, well, because at some level I was doing the exact same thing, or do the exact same thing, is they were always the target of Jesus's ire. Jesus did not focus on the people that the rest of the culture called the sinners. He focused on the people who thought they knew and were right. And that's been me. And here's the thing, almost everyone I know right now, and people, of course, who I love with my whole heart, almost everyone I know right now are very sure that they are exactly right in their opinions about what is going on in the world, and that the other side is exactly wrong. And sometimes they are wrong to the point of being evil. And not just individual people being evil, but an entire group or groups being evil. So let me read that quote again now. And let's all of us assume that Richard Rohr is not talking about someone else. He's talking about me. He's talking about you. He's talking about us. There is only one thing more dangerous than the individual ego or my story, and that's the group ego that insists that our story is the measure of all things, and so seeks to label other stories as ignorant, dangerous, or inferior. And he goes on to say, it looks like it will take some time, perhaps centuries, to resolve the human drive to exclude, to scapegoat, to judge, and to dismiss other people's stories. Only non dual thinkers, mystics, and I love this, some saints, only some saints seem capable of such universal capacity. I would add to that, or people who regularly practice surrendered presence and learn to touch into a place in themselves that is actually beyond all these stories. And that place beyond is actually the last level or container. And that place beyond is called the story. And the most important thing that we can know about the story is that we do not know the whole story. We do not know, we cannot know. And I believe that half or maybe more of all of our problems would go away if we could just go around saying, I'm not sure. I don't know. And this story, the story, doesn't even really contain a story at all. It is beyond all stories. The story contains essences, virtues. It contains the qualities of the soul. The story will always, though, contain love, forgiveness, beauty, humility, truth, not the truth of our opinions. It will contain capital T truth, trust, and a will toward what is highest and best. And when we practice the practice that we do together, we move toward the story. My story, our story, others' stories, that all falls away in the practice. And we arrive at the story, which is love, unity, oneness, and mutuality. So let us practice together. Once again, reminding ourselves that we gather in love, taking a breath in, and as we release it, we drop into love just like a drop of water falls into the ocean. We allow ourselves to become here and now in love. And we simply notice our experience. We simply notice exactly what is here now. Then we begin to give our attention to our body, beginning with our feet. And we notice and experience our lower legs and our upper legs. We notice our hips and our bellies. We notice our chest and the beating of our heart. We notice our shoulders, our arms, and our hands. We notice our low back, just following the spine up the back to include all the ribs, traveling up the neck to the scalp, and coming to rest on your face. And we notice our body as a whole, feeling our whole body here now. Drawing our attention to our heart, imagining love touching our heart just like a beam of sunlight. lands on a rose or lands on the grass, and seeing how our heart responds to love. Letting that same love interact with our spirit, our aliveness, the energy that is our spirit. And then letting love flow into and fill our mind. Simply noticing what happens to our mind, to our thoughts, when we make room for love. And then noticing all the parts of your being as one whole being, that you are body, heart, spirit, mind, here now. This is your presence. And your presence is a part of all presence, all creation, all beingness, here now. Now feeling the way the earth is drawing you into itself and holding your whole being. And see if you can give yourself over to that holding. You allow yourself to be held. You don't have to do the work. You may notice a tension go out of you. You may actually notice more relaxation in your body or your mind, trusting yourself to the holding. Staying present in your being and being held. Notice your breath. Simply enjoying the way your body receives the air and lets it go. I worked so hard for so long to receive and let go. And all along, it was as close as my breath. That's all there is to it. This natural flow. It comes in, it goes out. And when you're ready, just following that out breath, that letting go, Follow your breath all the way out and letting yourself drop into a place of complete surrender, a simple being in love. This space of simple being feels like nothing to the ego, but it is in this space that we can touch the story. It is from here that our ego falls away and we can sense what is most true. And what is most true is not all the stories. What is most true is that we are one. We are love. May we live in that story. Thank you so much for practicing with me and supporting my own practice. Love you all.